The band was called Plasticene. So anyways, long story short, even that's long, got out of that game and then realised that songwriting was what I really enjoyed more than anything.
Long story long, Gisborne. Do I have a story to tell? Hey guys, it's Madeline here, and welcome to the third installment of my series Indie Reviews, where I take a small local band and give you an overview of how they started, where they get their inspiration, and sharing my own personal thoughts about their music and their potential as well. And in this episode, we're going to be discussing Plasticene again. You thought my research ended after my Roger Gisborne review? No, I continued to search newspaper articles, social media, and even getting in personal contact with a few of the members. One early morning, as I tried in vain to rub the sleep out of my eyes, I got a notification that Billy Slater had subscribed to me on YouTube. The name looked familiar, but it wasn't until a random few days later, in the middle of a completely unrelated something, that I realized, oh, Plasticene drummer! Needless to say, not too long after, he gets in touch with me about new social media, new songs on Bandcamp, and even an extensive article of information by email. So of course I couldn't help myself but to share my findings in a second video. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and maybe subscribe if you want to see more of my videos. If you have any feedback, suggestions, or hate about me or what I should talk about next, feel free to drop it in the comments below.
Where are you now? With the freaks and circus clowns, it's all the song.
Plasticene is an Anglo-American music group formed in Simi Valley, California in 1996. The band was comprised of lead vocalist Roger Gisborne, drummer Billy Slater, lead guitarist Charles Van Devender, keyboardist Nathan Wilmarth, probably rhythm guitarist Colin Gisborne, and bass guitarist Nate Saragoza. They recently launched an online presence in 2020 on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter, along with their entire discography on Bandcamp with 17 unreleased recordings. I will link to all these official pages and media in the description below. I am so glad for my viewers to finally be able to hear some of my favorite songs of all time. And here's the point where I go off script, because I'm too lazy to write an entire script and I don't have the time either. According to Roger Gisborne on Facebook, Plasticene was classified as a Britpop, indie, shoegaze, and alt-rock kind of band. The name Plasticene came from the Beatles song Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds.
Plasticene porters with looking glass ties.
Right.
Yeah. So the Beatles have... It's always been brainwashed into my mind.
Gisborne wanted Plasticene to be a Kurt Cobain meets Beatles kind of thing. Plasticene was formed in October of 1995, and they originally played with a heavy metal drummer, as mentioned in the last video. Gisborne put an ad in, I think it was called Music Connection magazine, for a new drummer for the band, and Slater responded. The band's first official rehearsal with Slater and all the members that we know now occurred on Halloween in a friend's garage in Simi Valley, California. Both Slater and Gisborne spent most of their mornings writing and playing guitar together at Gisborne's mother's house. After 8 months of writing songs, the band debuted publicly at the Roxy Theater in LA. The recently released American Recording Sessions was recorded around this time, and Proving Ground Sessions, also on Bandcamp, was probably recorded by them independently around the same time as well. Nearly 12 labels wanted to sign them late 1996, but they eventually decided to sign with Mojo Records, which was a spin-off or a child company of Universal Music Group. I don't know exactly what to call them. They met Mojo Records at Cafe Blue, which was one common venue that they played at, as well as the Roxy. Under this label, Plasticene EP was released sometime early to mid 1997. Before the band went on a tour of the west coast of the US, Roger's brother Colin was kicked out of the band. This decision was cited as being mainly because of quarrels between the members, mostly with his brother Roger. After a multitude of auditions, Matt Fuller was eventually brought in to replace Colin on rhythm guitar. The band spent a lot of time touring from 1998 to 1999, and they even opened for who was soon to be known as Maroon 5. Exactly 2 years after the band's first rehearsal, production for Seeing Stars started on Halloween of 1997. Their producer Rich Costey wanted to make them more than just another Britpop band influenced by the Beatles. Singles from the album included the first one, Big Wheel, and then Lemon Yellow and Times Don't Change shortly after. I actually did happen to get my hands on one of their singles, Times Don't Change, as I mentioned in my 2019 CD collection video. The content on the CD is not very good, but just look at this presentation. Oh my goodness gracious, it's beautiful. I only buy CDs if I don't have the songs, she said. The album was officially dropped on August 25th of 1998 and was received favorably by fans and critics. Seeing Stars was also nominated as the Best Indie Pop Album by LA Music Awards. Multiple songs were featured in videos or movies, such as Lemon Yellow and Basketball and Picture in My Mind from Bride of Chucky, although I can't find any outside sources to back that up. Lemon Yellow was also made into the only music video that the band ever filmed, although on Facebook Slater did say that the band made steady cams with other songs that they used a boombox to play in the background. I just want to point out that I've seen this video a lot, and I thought Gisborne was wearing makeup in the video, and it turns out he was. Just wanted to say that I was right. Hey, Editor Madeline here. So I wanted to talk about this in the video, but I did forget. A while back when I was looking at the Lemon Yellow video from Charles Van Devender's channel, I noticed that the licensing said that the song was Life's Free by Extreme, which really confused me, and I tried looking everywhere for it, and I couldn't find it literally anywhere. And in the description of the video reposted by Plasticine Official, they said, "This error is the result of Mojo Records owner Jay Rifkin selling the band's publishing rights to a music clearinghouse and then licensing it out." The director's full names were Jennifer Orme, and Jill Fox was her friend. Slater also noted that he hated filming that video because it was morning and very dark when they were hauling the gear onto the roof that they filmed on. He didn't like his hair either, though. He said it looks like R.I.P. Taylor. Other than that, it was fun, he said. He's not the only one with crazy hair. I think it was Van Devender that had like fire red hair. Okay, Adeline, you're making the table shake. Despite all of this praise, the album had disappointing sales, and the label was not enthusiastic about promoting them. Mojo Records complained that they didn't like the band's work ethic and extracurricular activities, and after a series of meetings, Plasticine was dropped from the Mojo Records label. As mentioned in the introduction, Plasticine also faced a few legal issues, including a lawsuit involving one of their singles, Big Wheel. Big Wheel was used without permission in a Monster.uk advert. It was edited to sound like Pretty Flamingo by Manfred Mann. Because of this, a lawsuit was filed against the band. In his own words, I'm pretty sure he's referring to Plasticine, but also against the publisher and the music clearinghouse, which was Extreme Music. It was settled out of court, but resulted in a payout of $100,000. Through this lawsuit, the band found out that the rights to their songs were sold without them knowing to Extreme Music. This music clearinghouse, I'm not sure exactly what that means, but they edited and licensed their songs to some unscrupulous projects. But this wasn't the end of Plasticine yet. There was another EP that was recorded after they dropped their label called Rollercoaster, and this is now available on Bandcamp. The EP was originally going to be called Disconnected EP, and Gisborne says that was the perfect title at the time, as the title track, as it would have been, had only 2 chords, E and B, and it was sort of the way he was feeling at the time, as he said. I only want to be with you, but all I feel is disconnected. It was said, however, that it was one of the producer's favorites out of many others that he recorded. This EP was sent to multiple different labels with no success, and as a result, it was never released to the public. Until now, that is. Plasticine went on an extended hiatus back in 2000 because they were tired of pitfalls, quarrels, and other small issues driving the band apart. Skylab was formed that same year with Gisborne, Slater, and Van de Vender. They welcomed a new bassist, Jeremy Kelly, and rhythm guitar James Safechuck to play with them. They released one album as Skylab titled Side Effects that was released in 2002. Skylab was originally called Sonar, and they played a few gigs in 2000 under that name. Who came up with these names? Plasticine pretty much had the game-changing name, said Gisborne. Slater thinks that the other guitarist before Jeremy decided on the name, but he said that Sonar was never a favorite. For some reason, I didn't write down the initial date for when Skylab first debuted publicly as Skylab, so I'm just gonna put a picture right here. Later on down the line, the band considered changing their name to Vineland. They recorded an album under the same name, the Vineland Sessions. It was never released because by that time the band was so tired and burnt out that they just didn't want to finish it. Recordings for the Vineland Sessions occasionally will float around the internet. Two of the songs on that album that were never finished were Dear Prudence, a cover from the Beatles, and Made of Stone, which I don't know who wrote it, but that was also a cover. Slater said that they cut hundreds of songs from that session, and Gisborne says that they did that everywhere. Which just makes me even more curious because, like, are they actually, like, deleted forever? I want to know what they were. I'm a hoarder, guys, I can't help it. According to this article, it says that Skylab or Vineland disbanded in 2004, but according to Gisborne, he thinks that they disbanded in 2003.
You are the one, say my yellow bus is gone.
Okay. Gisborne even said on Facebook that Plasticine EP had the worst producer of all time. It's also interesting to note that there are two different bands associated under the name Skylab on Spotify, which is funny because I haven't heard it in a while, but if I'm correct, the other band was like ambient or electronic music or something. It was completely different. I am just getting so off track right now. Another thing Gisborne said on Facebook about Skylab, when bands record, they are always wearing whatever is comfortable. Unless you were Bloody Skylab, they always had the gear or the rockstar outfits on. He did claim that it was very hot in the studio when he recorded, but this implies that he thought Skylab was better than Plasticine. Gisborne never liked the opening song played in their live shows. The post that this comment was on revealed that in the whiskey videos that I found on Charles Van de Vender's YouTube channel, Sender Receiver was actually the opening song for that show. Always was getting used to sound and atmosphere, Gisborne said. I don't come alive until halfway through when I perform live, unless it's karaoke, then you have to turn it to 10 right away, sometimes 11.
You are the one, say my yellow bus is gone.
There was a short-lived project after Skylab with Plasticine and Skylab members called Canyon Anthem, but there's no other information saying what exactly happened with this group or if they even played live together. Gisborne later formed the local division under the Ian Christian pseudonym. It is interesting to note that Ian and Christian are the names of his two sons. He played rhythm guitar and lead vocals on his only record with them, Pure Electric Light. This EP was recorded in a dirty cellar, and it was meant to have personal lyrics about politics and past relationships. I have reason to believe that this source from Last FM was written by the band for multiple different reasons, and I like the pun there. The local division was formed in 2004 with the official genres of Brit rock, shoegazer, and post-punk. The band members were Gisborne, Matt Ree, Luke Arrett, and James Burton. The band was short-lived because Gisborne, quote, had to take a break from bands around then. Gisborne also said about his solo work that it was formed in the 70s to the present. Funny joke, you're born in the 70s and you're still alive. You get it? Never mind. As a solo artist, he classified himself as a Brit rock, shoegazer, 60s psychedelic kind of artist. He mentioned on Facebook that he recorded an album post-divorce titled Shining Through, but there is nothing on the internet about that previous EP besides his full album Before the Music Fades. About this Shining Through EP, he said it was a bit dark, but it had a few moments on it. I tried asking him about it, and either he wasn't the one who saw it, or he doesn't want to talk about it because I got left on red. With this solo album Before the Music Fades, he recorded it in his family house in Chico, California. It It was tracked 3 years before February 29th of 2012, which was approximately 2009. The artwork was by his wife and son, and it was recorded in 10 days. He wanted to write Rolling Stones meets Motown. Is it my best work, he said? Probably not. Some decent moments. Billy Slater played the drums on this solo record, although he was uncredited, and he currently plays for multiple groups such as Poets and Porn Stars Soulhammer, I think that's what it said on Facebook, and he currently lives in Austin, Texas with his family. Von Devender performed in several other unknown projects, and he now lives with family in California as well. Colin Gisborne plays guitar while he works as a tile installer in Simi Valley with his family. Bassist Nate Saragoza sold all of his music gear after Plasticine broke up, and he retired from music permanently. He was last known to be living in California with family, but since Plasticine's hiatus, he has had little to no contact with his former friends. So with this information, we can infer that there was probably something pretty bad that happened between Nate Saragoza and the rest of the band members, but I don't want to dig into it, and I doubt I would find anything in the first place. It is interesting to note that the band members are listed on this article I was sent as from like 1995 to the present. So maybe the band is considering returning. This wouldn't be too far-fetched to assume, as Gisborne in February of 2012 said that Plasticine might have to do a reunion gig. Slater also said on Facebook that he misses Plasticine and Skylab, and Will Marths had a poster of the Big Wheel promotional single poster. As for the demos that were released on Bandcamp, they really weren't as good as what was released on Seeing Stars. I mean, obviously Plasticine EP, half of the EP itself wasn't really that good, but it did have two of arguably the best Plasticine songs that were ever released. As of Seeing Stars, this is my favorite album of all time that isn't an EP. I do want to end off by giving a thank you to anyone who answered a question for me. I mean, I did talk a little bit to Charles Van Devender. I think he replied to one of my comments on his YouTube videos or something, but I'd like to thank him anyway for posting the Skylab videos, because I watched them way too much. Obviously, thanks to Roger Gisborne for not being super irritated with me for bugging you about questions. And of course, thank you to Billy Slater for sending me all this information, telling me about the Bandcamp link as well. Remember to like this video if you liked it, and subscribe if you want to see any more of my videos. Leave a comment down below on another band you want me to review. I'm going to be doing the influencers in the next 2 weeks. Thanks guys for watching. Remember to play it loud. Then I realized, oh, Plasticine drummer! Why did I say a Plasticine drummer?